Blog Talk Radio. The following message is sponsored by Truth. Are you or someone you know suffering from sheepilism? Sheepilism is a debilitating disorder which affects a person's entire worldview and is characterized by ignorance, denial, abandonment of basic morals and values. An unwillingness to think critically about things read or heard by mainstream media is a strong sign that you've been affected. Fortunately, sheepilism is treatable in many cases. Treatment may include, but is not limited to, training to help the patient understand that truth is being intentionally withheld, help in understanding that assumptions and speculations do not qualify as evidence for truth. Living with sheepilism is frustrating. Thankfully, there's hope for those suffering this debilitating condition. If you or someone you know is dealing with sheepilism, please contact your local Truth Movement for treatment. They're standing by to help you now, and remember, you're not alone. Side effects of treatment may or may not include shortness of breath, migraines, anaphylactic shock, and a worst scenario, heart attack. See your support specialist for details.
Please check out our sponsor, Save Around. Save Around coupon books have been with us for several years, and they help you save money when going out to eat, renting a car, buying flowers, and all kinds of other good stuff. The good thing is you can view the coupon books before you buy. Please go to our website, freedomizerradio.com, and click on the Save Around book that you'll see right next to our chat room. Like I said, you could preview it before you purchase, and hopefully you'll save yourself some money and help us as well. Please check it out. Please check out the Barefoot is Legal radio show right here on Saturdays, 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 10:30 a.m. to noon Pacific Time, as we show you all about your barefoot rights and living a barefoot lifestyle. And for more information about the 501c3 nonprofit Barefoot is Legal, please check out barefootislegal.org.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Delusion Solution Live Radio Show. I'm your host, Tara Dawn. Rudy Smith is my co-host. And if you're just now joining us, our call-in number is 319-527-6208 to listen in. Press 1 on your dial pad to participate in the discussion. And tonight, we have our returning guest, Ron Neitzel. He's the author of the Green Wizard Guide, and it's kind of like a gardening book or how to keep your grass green. It gives you a bunch of tips and tools that will help you with whatever you do in the yard. So we want to welcome him in. Hello, Rudy. Hello, Ron. We want to welcome both of you in. And first, I want to say, Ron, tell everybody, it's been a moment since we've had you on, so tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you've been doing, and a little bit about your book.
Well, hello, guys.
Hey.
Wow, am I even there? I can't even hear myself.
Yeah, you're here.
Yeah, it's been a 15-year project. I got into a very old house that the yard had been neglected. Did everything I possibly could to try and restore my yard. Ran into some issues about 8 years in. My neighbor got me into gardening, said he would supply me with stuff, and it has just been an adventure since. Getting back into the organics, remembering the old ways. So I decided it was time to sit down and write down the instruction manual as to how I did it, because all my neighbors were curious. How'd your yard turn around so quick? You went from being the weed king to all of a sudden you're the garden master. What has happened? So, I tried writing out this book that ended up being too long. It was frightening. I tried to shorten it, went another direction, and we've ended up with this 114-page guide to going organic, the cheapest possible way, with stuff you have at home, stuff that's local and available, inexpensive, and completely safe.
Well, let me just ask you. There's a question I've been dying to ask you. That with these times, as you know, everybody's on lockdowns, and some stores have even partitioned off where you can't shop for seeds. I mean,
Yes.
how much more important does that make your book now, as opposed to when people were just saying, "Oh, I can get it anytime," but now people, now's the time. If any time, now is the time you're really going to need to learn how to do this, especially with food shortages.
Oh yeah. What is going on now? Um, the overreach um, by everybody, by everybody. It turns out it's not just us. It's a global condition, and they're shutting down everything as much as they possibly can to get us into this new system that they have designed. And they've slowly been doing this by poisoning the soils and going a completely different direction on everybody without us even realizing what they're doing, by doing this chemical spray, by doing chemtrails and dumping all of this on our soils that have stopped the soils from being able to produce very well unless you go the GMO or the NPK way. My book, you could not get something that is more intense and more necessary than right now. My book gives you the solutions right now, how to correct those soil conditions that have been condensing in your yard for years and years, and turn them around this weekend. Next weekend, immediately upon getting your hands on this book, you can start changing your yard. You can convert your current gardens back into the organic instantaneously, and the results are phenomenal. Within weeks, within days, you see the immediate change in your soils and in your grasses, in your garden. Everywhere you look, you can see it. Once you start understanding what's going on in the soil and you correct those conditions, instantaneous results.
Ron, why would it puzzles me why stores would section off seeds that as non-essential, like they'll section off certain areas that you cannot buy certain things, and their gardening equipment and seeds and stuff like that. Why would they be doing that?
They are taking away the necessity for being self sustainable. They are closing that door. They want everybody eating the same thing, everybody eating from factory stores, in a sense, because everything is going to be condensed, everything is going to be grown a certain way, designed a certain way, genetically modified a certain way. And I hate to say it, and I hate to push the buttons and go this direction, but it is a population control. It is to knock the numbers down. We have seen over the many, many years that we've been dealing with this, that obesity is rampant throughout the world, especially in the United States. We're seeing autism. We're seeing all of these other diseases coming around. This disease was supposed to hit us so much harder. Somehow, thankfully, people aren't just buying from Whole Foods, which has sold out. They are no longer the same that they used to be. And they're getting good, nutritious foods, and because of their immune systems, And everyone's starting to wake up to this reality because of the immune system. This specific strain is not taking a hold as strongly as they had hoped. And until we start changing that and start reversing that ourselves and growing for ourselves and becoming more sustainable, we're going to have to bend over to this system. It's frightening what's coming down the pike. Amazon has jumped on board. It's frightening. It is really, really frightening.
Do you think that this is the? I personally think that this is just the first phase. That they've got something down the pike to they saw how easy we were able to be quarantined, quote unquote, and how easily we can be under house arrest. I don't even want to call it quarantine. I want to call it house arrest.
It's become a prison planet.
In essence, yeah. So we've been under house arrest, and now there's places that once you step outside, they want you to have a mask on, and the food shortages. This is you see farmers dumping their food or killing off their livestock, and then what? Eggs are. I saw someone's post today. They went to go get eggs, and it was $6 for a dozen eggs.
Yeah, the proteins are being removed, which is one of the necessities that we need to have to battle them, because we need the muscle capacity to be able to deal with it, and everything is being very slowly and very methodically pulled out of the system. We're the ones that have to make that change. We have to go directly to the farmers. We have to step in and protect these farmers from these. They're not even government agencies. They are private companies that are dictating to the farmers and trying to maintain control and push this control on top of people, misleading them. And with the use of the media, everybody's just falling into line. Next thing they know, they're marching us off to the camps. We're the ones that have to make that change. Go to your farmers, support your farmers, grow at home. Get off the NPK system. Start growing healthy foods.
Now, what does the term NPK stand for? I think I know most people know what GMO is, genetically modified organisms. But what is NPK?
All right, Rudy. That's a chemical or a chemist's terms that came about in the late 60s, early 70s for nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus in your soils. In their system, through the scientific method, and they've convinced everybody of this, that there are only 12 specific things needed in agriculture to grow plants. These aren't healthy plants. These are the starting points for GMO plants. Mother Nature doesn't work that way. We need what is known as the mighty 90 nutrients and minerals in our diets on a daily basis, and you can grow those in your yards by getting off the extremely expensive NPK system and just going back to the organics. And you're going to spend a third of the money, if that. The stuff is readily available right in your own yards.
It seems that there is this anathema to anything that's natural or organic by the system. Okay, whenever you try bringing up things about how to stay healthier or how to boost your own immune system, unless you're willing to, go along and toe the party line, state that, you have to, get X, Y, and Z in order to maintain your health, you're almost kind of looked at as kind of a throwback to something that's old-fashioned, or even a kook, or someone who's oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my goodness. Okay, I can't remember the word, but you're looked at
Well,
kind of,
let's
you
let's
know,
just twist it and say uneducated
yeah,
and
uneducated.
and
Okay,
or a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist for thinking that you would possibly know better than a doctor. And
right.
please
The
don't
quote
don't
unquote
misunderstand.
experts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm no doctor by any means, but I understand nutrition. When a doctor goes in and spends his years getting his degree, he's given a half hour on nutritional value. And that's where this starts.
So
When
the
you start
doctors,
to understand that most diseases come directly from as a result of a bad diet, you can correct everything by correcting your nutrition.
so the doctors aren't even really given the education base to appropriately be able to apply the knowledge that they're learning on human anatomy and
Oh,
human
absolutely. And it's not the
physiology.
doctor's fault. It was designed out of the system many, many years ago.
Big pharma
This is a
teaches us
plan that
that.
has been hundreds of years in the process. It's not the doctor's fault. I feel sorry for the doctors. When the doctors start to understand some of these things, and look at what's going on in social media now. Doctors that are starting to see this and doctors that are starting to understand something's really screwy here. The numbers are faulty. Hospitals are laying off doctors and nurses because they have no patients. Something screwy is really going on here. And when they start to speak out, they are silenced very quickly by their peers.
Well,
This
I'm
is
thinking,
something that's been coming along for a long time. It's not the doctor's fault.
yeah, I'm thinking about the two doctors that have been on Facebook that I, I
Yes,
don't
the
know
two
their
That
names.
doctors from
Dr.
California.
Erickson.
Right, there's two
Right.
doctors that have come out and they're basically, questioning a lot of this. And it's amazing all of a sudden the people that are critiquing, what they're saying and they're trying to pick apart what they're saying and discredit these two guys. And I sit here and I wonder to myself, why would somebody go to the extent to want to discredit these people? Okay, instead of trying to look and see if the data that they're presenting is actually correct, okay, why is it that the knee jerk reaction is to immediately just try to disprove and discredit? And it's like whenever an article comes out that actually presents a glimmer of hope to people that, hey, this virus may not be the boogeyman that everyone's making it out to be. And that's not to take away from the fact that, people have died from it. Okay. I'm not going to, try to make light of that, this is a serious illness. But anytime somebody brings something out that offers a ray of hope that, hey, there's a way to turn the corner on this, there's a way to beat it, immediately it's pounced on. Immediately the cure is all of a sudden put into question. The reputation of the people presenting it are all of a sudden put in question. And it's like they don't want people getting this idea that there's somehow something that you can do to turn the corner yourself. Okay, I know that when this all first started back in March or late February or whatever, that there were a lot of things that were swirling around out there as to what this virus is or isn't. And you had some people that immediately began to put two and two together, and they started going to the store and they were stocking up on vitamin C, zinc, D3, and magnesium. Okay, which most people know are immune boosting supplements. Okay, and I remember somebody mentioning that to some people that were medical professionals. That they went out and got this, and the first thing that was mentioned was, "Oh, that's not going to help. There's nothing in that. It's not going to help you when you get this coronavirus. It's going to, go in and destroy everything, and those things aren't going to help. And yet, you go to your local drugstore, and guess what is hard to find?
Yep.
Zinc,
Yep.
vitamin C, magnesium, and D3. Okay, and and all of a sudden people
Because
are realizing,
people aren't stupid.
yeah, people aren't stupid, and it's like, you know what, if there's nothing in this, then you shouldn't be afraid. If I want to try these quack remedies, okay, if I am a quack and I believe in this, then there should be no harm whatsoever. Just leave me alone. But we know that that's not the case.
Well, you can't even get in the hospital unless you're vaccinated nowadays. They refuse you care. At the emergency room, they refuse you care. It doesn't matter whether you've got broken bones, sliced open, what have you. If you're not vaccinated and you're not part of the establishment, you're not welcome in the hospitals.
Oh, goody. That means I don't have to go to the hospital anymore.
Oh yes. Oh yes. If you're not vaccinated, forget it. You can't even get in the door to get stitches. Government funded hospitals will refuse you care if you're not part of the system and you're not vaccinated. That's been going on for many, many years. Now we've reached the point where I've got friends that have got kids in the hospital on ventilators, in comas, and their parents are not allowed in the hospitals at all to visit them because the care that's being given to them is frightening, and they don't want people seeing it. They don't want the truth out there.
See, and the ventilators can kill people.
Right. Well, see, that's the mystery of this particular strain of COVID, is that one type of ventilator will hold you back in the coma and slow the progress of the COVID virus. And this was information that came out in the very beginning, because it's a very low pressure. If you dial the thing up or you go to the other type of ventilator, it's too much pressure, and as it kills the virus, it also wipes out the lungs. So there's this very weird balance that you have to be in the middle of while you're being treated for this thing. It's just frightening. This is bad news.
Well,
This is really bad news. Thank God it didn't kick in the way they wanted it to.
yeah. Well, I've never been denied access to a hospital because I wasn't vaccinated, but they're not going to force me to vaccinate. Besides, I've got an egg allergy, and they can't force me to vaccinate. And if they do, well, then I just won't go to the doctor.
Yeah, it's what's going on here is a global overreach to put everybody on the same system. Everybody eating exactly the same foods. Everybody stepping in line. Everybody being the automaton and doing just as the owners, the dictators want you. It's the one world order system, and it's frightening. It is.
The thing that I thought was interesting was this, that after a lot of this calms down, okay, because you have people that are beginning to push back on this and saying, you know what, enough is enough. Okay, we were willing to go along with 2 weeks, 3 weeks of this, okay, because that's initially what you guys said, that we would need to ride this thing out through the end of March, okay.
So not now, 2 months, but 3 months.
Now here we are, coming close into the middle of May, all right, and people are, they're starting to kind of wake up a little bit here, and they're like, wait a minute, okay, nobody signed on for this, okay. We were willing to go along with 2 or 3 weeks, but not 2 months, okay, or 2 or 3 months, and and people are, you're seeing protests and rallies going on at some of the state capitals, and I think that you're going to see more, especially as the weather gets warmer. You think you're going to keep all of these people in their house when the weather really starts to get nice and people want to go out and live their life and stuff like that. They're going to start just doing it. Okay, there's not enough police in any town to round up everybody. Okay, and the thing is that I personally believe this. Okay, I think that they're going to take notes on this once this kind of dies down a bit. Okay, they're going to look and see what was it that the people were willing to go along with very easily. That's the first thing that they're going to compare notes with. What were they very easily willing to do? Okay. Secondly, they're going to look and see how much overreach were they able to get away with before it was challenged, if it was even challenged. Okay, because I think that you're going to have a number of constitutional challenges come up after this dies down, and you already see it actually in some states. You have some of the local municipalities that are starting to fight back and take some of these folks to court and sue them. Okay, saying that this is a breach of governmental power. That they're doing things that they don't have the authority to do, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And I've noticed also that you have people that are really kind of like gung ho about a lot of this, like, oh yeah, the social distancing, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I want to see if in the fall, when the new flu season starts, okay, and
they've already said it.
Right, and this corona business crops its head back up again. How gung ho are you going to be with this when they tell you to pull your kids out of school again and shut your business down again and lay you off again? Okay, how enthusiastic are you going to be embracing all of this stuff? And I think that you definitely will have people the second time around that will question this and say, okay, I was willing to go along with this, but now I'm not so sure anymore. Okay. I don't know. I may be wrong, but I'm just taking a shot in the dark here that I think that, how's that old saying go? First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. I think that people are going to take a hard look at this and say, I don't know about this second time around.
Yeah, they've
Ron,
already
where
said
can
it's coming
people
back.
get your book?
It's available on Amazon. It's available at Walmart. It's pretty readily available. I've got a specific website set up for it, thegreenwizard.com, greenwizardsguide.com.
It's called the Green Wizard's Guide.
Right. And if you just go in
Right,
for greenwizardsguide.com, there's a specific website that I'm in control of that has a direct link to Amazon to purchase the book.
And you can also just go to Amazon, search for it.
Yes. And we are currently working on an audio version of it, so that will be currently available.
Is the book available?
Cool.
Is it available electronically, like through Kindle or?
Yes, it's in all digital formats. The only drawback to the digital format is you can't take notes on it. In the paperback copy, there are blank pages in it. It's designed for the yard worker and the gardener to be able to leaf through it, get to blank pages where they've taken notes or add notes, and everything has been pushed off to one side so that fingerprints don't mess up the print, so that you can have it out in the garden when you need it, when you want to refer to it. But it coincides with a YouTube channel that I've built called Green Wizard, where there's other information I've discussed that didn't make it into the book. One of the companies that I was trying to get a hold of that provides minerals that we can use in the soils to amp things up and to make things just that much better is longevity, and I was going after their Bloomin' Minerals. Well, I finally got a hold of Dr. Wallach and finally got authorization to talk about the Bloomin' Minerals as part of the system to be able to amplify the gardens and take them that step further. To follow those links, it's just a matter of going to YouTube, finding my channel, and following the links on most of my different videos as to where the Bloomin' Minerals can be found.
Now, how many videos do you have on YouTube?
Well, that depends on which one we're talking about. I recently was pushing my my lowercase, all lowercase Ron Neitzel account, but YouTube shut me down for talking about the truth. I have the Green Wizard channel, and there's well over 150 videos on each one of the two channels.
Wow, that's a lot of information
YouTube
there.
Yeah, YouTube has been doing that. They've been shutting down things like, they don't want people to see the truth. And if you try to tell the truth, I mean, people are smart enough that whether they want to believe it or not, put it out there and let them decide for themselves. The fact is they have an agenda and they're trying to push it, and they don't want people to know the truth. And, one of the reasons I think that your book is really important, especially now, is so that people can become self-sufficient, and you're going to need to. You're going to need to be. And once these things let up, get some seeds and start planting, and use Ron's tools that he lays out in the book, because you can't go wrong with it.
Let me ask this question. Does it matter where you get your seeds from?
Yes, it does, because there are a lot of these GMO designed seeds that rely on the chemical-based NPK system, or they will not grow, and they will not come back a second year. So you need to find what are called heirloom seeds. And these companies are being bought up left and right and disappearing. So when you find them, order everything you possibly can. Once you have your starter stock, your first year, you are producing seeds. So one tomato can give you 500 seeds, depending on the variety of tomato it is. Everything will replenish itself. In the GMO system, the seeds that are out there for that are specifically designed to only give you 1 year of growth. The seeds will not germinate the following year, and you're back in the same problem again. No matter what you do to the soil, you cannot change these seeds back. So you have to go to the heritage seeds, the heirloom seeds. You've got to go to stuff that comes back, what they call volunteer plants, and will continue to grow back year after year. Those are the seeds that we're looking for.
Remember that.
Yeah. Is there a place specifically? I guess you would go to maybe health food stores that may carry that, or nurseries, or.
Well, there are a few organic stores that are still sneaking around out there that have them. They haven't been quite caught up to in all of this. Oh geez, there's so much going on with all of that. It still boggles my mind when I look at it. One of the strongest states that came out and said you cannot garden, period. You're not allowed in your own yard to garden, was Michigan. And where's one of the best seed sources? M.I. Gardner in Michigan. He has a seed store in Michigan, and he had to shut down. And they're all heirloom seeds. He's been gathering them for years, and every last one of them is tested, grown by himself, and then regrown the following year before he releases the seeds.
So there's actually a state that came out and said that you cannot have a garden in your own yard?
Yeah, Michigan.
That's when I would do it anyways.
And just out of curiosity, what was the reason that they gave for that? This blows my mind.
Social distancing and staying indoors. And what's one of the things that we gain from being outdoors? Vitamin D.
Fresh
the only
air.
place it can be released is behind the eyes. and it's from direct access to sunlight. So as we're hiding in our houses from this, we are deplenishing our own ability to produce vitamin D.
And I think there's
Isn't that
more
convenient?
to this. Yeah, you're also getting fresh air for your lungs when you're outdoors, and your
Right?
lungs need fresh air as well. And they are deliberately trying to create a shortage on food. They want more people are going to die from starvation than this so-called virus. I mean, I believe the virus is real, but I think the hoax is in the hype. And I've said that before. It's been overhyped. I mean, there's so many lies about it going around.
Oh,
I
absolutely,
mean, I
absolutely.
I was one of these people that were on board with, with all of this until I started seeing tyranny afoot, when I started seeing people getting arrested for being outdoors, or or church pastors being arrested, or and I thought, no, wait a minute, you know this
Yeah,
is
First and
there's
Fifth
more to this
Amendments
than,
immediately.
yeah.
It's
And all of a
First and
sudden
Fifth
I
Amendment
snapped.
being trampled on.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I snapped out of whatever I was in, and I thought, you know what, I got to take another look at this, because while I agree this is a real virus, they're treating it like something different, like we're in a police state or something. And this isn't right. And so all of a sudden it was about something else.
Yeah,
They used something
what
real
was
to
the other
accomplish another end. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ron.
what was the other politician's name? Bernie Sanders, that wanted us to go the Soviet Union way, the failed Soviet Union system, where we just followed what our dictator said, living in our 13 zones. We would eliminate states, and we would go to the populist system and the electoral college system of the 13 regions, and just fall into line and do as we're told. That's the system that we were heading into, and people are finally coming out of the delusion and starting to look for the solution. And it's here. It's here. The solutions, by the way, for your soils are in my book. You may be the Delusion Solution podcast, but the solutions for this particular situation and scenario are in my book. You can fix the soils and stop what's still coming. You got to understand that,
Absolutely.
like with the food shortage, we haven't seen the results of this yet, because it takes 6 weeks of refrigeration before cattle and pork and chicken are ready to be processed. It takes time sitting in those refrigerators for those things to go through what the FDA has regulated, to get all the essential things going on throughout the carcasses to be viable proteins for us. You can't just take a cow, instantaneously cut it up in the field and start eating it. The organs are no longer functioning for us to do that. It takes time. So while they're dropping to 50% capacity at Tyson, another foreign-owned company that should not be utilized, they're at 50% capacity. The foods that we're eating right now were processed many, many, many weeks ago. It's going to take months before this hits the shelves and really starts to punch people in the teeth, as to this stuff's no longer available because of what they've done. And they're going to drive the prices up. It's time to stockpile. It's
Well,
time to make the change, because what's coming down still hasn't truly reached the store shelves yet.
but it will. And
It's coming.
if you haven't stored up on storable food, I would suggest you do. And it's not that I'm making a sale, off of this. I'm saying, it's time to become self-sufficient. Grow your garden. Use Ron's book. Uh, Order, start stocking up on storable food. things because it's going to happen. I mean, if for all those that wanted a socialist country, you're getting a taste of it now. How you liking it? Because because it can only get worse if it continues like this.
When they re-release the virus and it starts its run all over again, because we still have half the population still asleep, still believing that the system is right and the system knows what they're doing, and they're going to run for the vaccines. And when this comes out again, we're not going to have the food resources. We're not going to have
Mm,
the store shelves are going to be empty. The food's not going to be
Well,
there. This is a slow manipulation across the planet to root out all of the food, take away your supplies, and put you in those food lines, standing 6 feet apart from each other with a face mask on, limiting your ability to breathe, limiting your oxygen intake, increasing all of the problems that are going to be growing in those masks as you're wearing them hour after hour, and causing you to have other problems. See, all of this is just an immune system battle. Every person that in their diet creates a different immune system. Just because we now are dealing with one specific, with the COVID, when you start limiting your amount of oxygen intake, your body will instantaneously go into high demand for calcium to start producing white blood cells to battle off what is going on in your system. The person standing next to you may not have the immune system to be able to battle off your immune system. That's what's going on here. We're spreading this continual immune system overdrive, and it's spreading from person to person, and every person's different. Every person's dietary needs are different, and it's attacking everybody that way. We have to get
Rudy,
ourselves off the NPK system, out of their system, and back on self-sufficiency. We didn't need doctors
I
200 years ago. What's going on?
I know. And Rudy, didn't you tell me that the other day a nurse where you worked passed out because of a mask, wearing a mask too long?
Yeah, yeah, she just kind of fell down, and she was a bit disoriented, and and she said that wearing this mask and stuff like that, and you know I mentioned to people, I said, I know that it cannot be healthy breathing in your own CO2 that you're letting out. Um, and, and I've
Because it's not.
come across other people that have mentioned that, they have like a dull headache in the center of their forehead. Okay. And that they feel tired, they feel run down. And, and I think that it a lot of this is traced back to wearing these masks all day long.
Right. Well, as you're exhaling, the way the human body functions, as you exhale, you are secreting bad materials, not just carbon. You're getting rid of things out of your body, bad microbes, let's call it. It's a microscopic world in there, and you're exhaling it. It comes out of your skin. It does, it radiates throughout your system as you excrete everything out of your body, every way it can get out of your body, whether it be, going through your organs and exiting, coming out of your pores, or exhaling. When you're capturing it in a mask, you're increasing the volume of it, and you're limiting your own oxygen and taking bad stuff back inside your own system, and your immune system's not built to handle that. That's why well, it's part of the reason why the SpaceX 2 program in Arizona failed, because there was too much carbon produced. That's the theory that they're running on with this new world order, is that we are so overpopulated that we have to eliminate, what's the number, 3 billion people to be able to rebalance our carbon and rebalance the planet and hold sustainability. Well, when you stop and think about what they've done, stopping the soils from working, and the scientists who were silenced had come out and said, look, the CO2 measurements that we're getting aren't coming from people. They're not coming from the AOC cow farts. They're not coming from cars, planes, trains, and automobiles. This is all coming from the death of the food web. The food web is struggling to survive because we're dumping the NPK system on it. We're dumping all of the chemtrails on it. We're wiping out the food web and all of our own sustainability. If you doubt it, walk out into your yard. See if the roots from the trees are starting to show. That's the end result. They're turning everything into clay. The materials are still buried and locked in the clay. All we have to do is utilize the Green Wizard system, wash those materials away, and start turning things back the other direction and getting the system back online where the carbon is trapped back in the soil again and available to the plants like it's supposed to be. The carbon's not supposed to be in the air, and the carbon monoxide's not supposed to be in the air. It's supposed to be in the soil for the plants to absorb and turn into oxygen. And we're stopping that by dumping the NPK system on it. All the scientific research is there. They've silenced those doctors, but the reality is there.
What do you think is going to be the thing? I mean, I think that you have a lot of people that are waking up to this, but what do you think will be the real sucker punch that will happen that will really wake people up or have the potential to wake people up and realize that the math doesn't add up?
Honestly, I don't know. I've been battling since I released this book a year ago in February to try and start waking people up to this reality, and I've gone nowhere. It's been a struggle. Some people get it, some people don't. I don't know. Are they going to have to face the absolute food shortages? Are they going to have to face that? All of a sudden these sellouts to our country are donning the UN uniforms and starting to patrol our streets to keep you home and dictate how far apart you stand in food lines waiting for your toilet paper? I don't know.
Well, you can absolutely see how many people. I mean, it's frustrating to me when you can actually see how many people are still left that are still asleep and they're enjoying it. I mean, to me, I've always said there's no excuse for being asleep with all the information out there. But but there are
Well,
people still waking up every day.
what gets me is, there's there's an element, and I see it here at home in Cleveland, um, that does not wish to comply with the stay at home order, and their ranks are being hit hard, hard, hard by this virus. It is actually taking effect because they're not social distancing. They're not following the warnings here, and they're spreading it rampantly. And what they're not understanding is, the doctors and the pharmacists and the coroners are all under orders worldwide that every death is COVID. Now they've been caught at this, and they're starting to change this back, and they're starting to report things the right way. Um, just recently, there was a drop in the death numbers all of a sudden from 60 to 30.
Right, I've
And
seen that.
Right,
people
I
are sitting
saw
back
that.
scratching their heads going, what happened? Well, because you got caught. So
Hmm.
you now have to report the truth. But you've got this whole group of people that are sick, that are having these respiratory problems, that are all sitting back wanting to claim, well, this is just, one group of people against another group of people. This is just, you guys all acting up. And it's like, no, you didn't listen. There is an actual virus here. It could be far, far worse, but you didn't listen. Don't blame society because you didn't listen. And they're
But you
they're
know what?
still
Look,
in this delusion. They're still lost. They don't understand what's really going on here.
But you know what? Look at
and it's the
places
push.
like Sweden who didn't lock down and they're still eating. Their businesses are still open. They didn't social distance. They didn't mask up, and they're fine. It doesn't mean that people don't get sick from it. It just means that
Well,
they've got more of a herd immunity to it. That
right,
that people,
right.
yeah, and when you allow that to happen, you, if people get real sick from it, it's probably because they're not boosting their immune system. This is probably worse, a little worse than the flu. So people, yeah, it's going to kick your butt.
If you look, and there's two different, and I'll reference the other one later, but if you look at where this is hitting the hardest, you're going to see it's the large cities where there are no farms, and the dietary condition of these people is bad to begin with because they don't have access to local farms. You don't have a farm next to a big city. They don't exist next to each other. All the farmland's bought up, and there's rural housing. You've got to get out to get into um, your better foods and better dietary conditions. Everybody's just running to the local store. This is what's available. I'm going to eat that because I got the munchies today. It's amazing when you start eating correctly and you start going back the other direction. You don't have the munchies anymore, and you actually have more energy. It's amazing when you get off the system.
Well,
You're
Oh
going to find
yeah,
a lot
and
of
you
this,
start feeling better.
yeah.
right? A lot of this, a lot of your fast food stores. I mean, it's funny how many of them stayed open, yet nobody's looking at their food sources and where that food is actually coming from that they have. Wendy's just recently is started to complain about the struggle of it, but you don't hear McDonald's struggling for food because they're getting their food from other bad sources. The next step, here comes this artificial meat that's grown in a laboratory. Oh my God, you want to talk about a nightmare coming down the pike.
Yeah, I
This is the
noticed
system
that.
that's being pushed.
Yeah, I noticed that with Wendy's just this past week, to where their double and triple burger that they have, they've they've put it on they've put it under wraps. Okay, you can get a single, but no double or triples, because I guess they're using real meat. I would imagine. Okay, which is
Yes.
the reason why they're doing that. And and actually, now that you mentioned
It
it,
tells you
it
something.
makes you, yeah, it makes you wonder, like, okay, these other people like McDonald's, where you can get like a triple Big Mac or whatever. It's like, like what's going on here? Where are you guys getting your food from? You know?
Right. Exactly. And be fearful of that. Be fearful of it. If they are readily available and fully stocked and ready to handle anything that you need to throw at them for your dietary wants, and they have it while everybody else is struggling for the real thing, fear it. Fear it. Stop going there.
You know what? It reminds
why is
me.
Dollar General open and you can't get into a mom and pop store? Because the
Yeah.
stuff that's
Why
at
can't you
Dollar
get a
General
haircut?
falls in line. Right.
Hmm.
It falls in line with this system because they're bringing in outside products owned by the top dogs that are chemically treating. I mean, what was the one big story I saw? Um, a artificial version of Colgate toothpaste is sitting on the shelves. It may not currently be, but it was caught. Is sitting in the grocery stores, says that it's Colgate. It's not grocery stores, dollar stores. Um, and it's got radiator fluid in it as part of the ingredients. It's being made in
Oh my
Africa and
goodness.
sold by and it's being sold by a supplier out of New York, who's just selling it, not knowing what he has available. And dollar stores are buying it up by the truckloads and putting it out there for people, and they're thinking they've got Colgate, and here they are using toxic chemicals to brush your teeth. But I got it on
That's
sale.
scary.
It was like a rush for toilet paper. Same difference.
Now, you know what? I'm going to tell you what all of this reminds me of, okay? And I'm sure that you've probably seen this movie. but you remember the movie back from the early '70s, Soylent Green?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You, you
and
gotta you gotta wonder where all the human bodies are going, right?
yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I remember as a kid, my dad took me to go see that, and I thought that was really, really, really futuristic for the time period that it came out in the early '70s. And but you look now, 50 something years later, okay, after that movie was made, and you wonder if the film was actually visionary, okay, as far as uh,
Well, they got
where
a
they
hold
were
of
going with that.
they got a hold of the New World Order's paperwork and designed a book by it, which turned into a movie. Look at George Orwell's 1984.
Yep.
COVID
And we're seeing that
1984.
across YouTube now. Where they're limiting access to information. You're seeing it in other social media platforms where they've got these artificial bots out there stopping the release of valid information, and it's just a matter of getting the information and making the choice for yourself. And that's exactly what we're doing here tonight. Is we're putting the information out there, and you've got to make the choice for yourself. The food shortages are coming. The bad food is going to be readily available. The scientific laboratory grown meats and proteins are going to be readily available. I was walking through one of our big grocery stores just yesterday, a giant eagle, and right there in the dead center of the meat in a huge pile is this artificial meat. It doesn't say meat, but it's right in the middle of the meat section. And anybody not paying attention would think, hey, look, that says it's all organic. I don't want to grab. And it turns out that it's this artificially grown, laboratory treated, fake proteins, fake meat.
Ooh.
And people are grabbing it up because they see it. They see it on sale. They think they're getting, and they don't understand that that's not a dietary supplement. It is something that's going to fill your stomach, but it's going to make you sick.
Okay, what did I just say? Soylent Green?
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
makes you wonder.
Well,
It
no,
kinda makes
that's
you
not
wonder.
to say that's
Yeah.
not to say that that some of the growing principles that they're looking at and that they're engineering to be able to sustain these cities isn't viable. There may be something to vertical gardening. It very well could be that Amazon is on the right track. But are they feeding it the correct minerals? I'm not seeing it. I'm not. When you pick up a tomato in a grocery store, there should be this abundance and explosion of flavor in your mouth. And it's like eating water. There's nothing there. You get a hint of a tomato in it. And you got to wonder, well, where's Heinz getting all of their tomatoes that they've got this kind of flavor? Well, look at the ingredients. There's chemicals right on the Heinz bottle. They're chemically enhancing bad food, NPK grown, chemically grown foods. It's just not there. It's not available. And it's getting worse. It's getting far worse. And now that we're going to end up in this food shortage, and it's not just the meat that we're seeing it in. They're telling farmers that have been living on subsidies, you are not to grow this year. Dig up your fields, dig up your crops, or we will not subsidize you. We are cutting off, the food distribution sources by making everybody sick, and you're done. You are not to farm this year. There will be no production coming from your farm. It's you're done, or we will not subsidize you this year, next year, or what have you. They're closing these down, and there's Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation buying up the farms,
And they,
closing them down.
oh, yeah, and they want
Oh
to
yeah,
reimagine the schools, and they want there's a lot. They want to vaccinate everybody globally. And on that note, I need to go to a break, so we'll be back in a few moments, and we'll pick up that topic where we left off.
All right. Great.